Hello everyone, Dylan here. Happy Throwback Thursday, and the rotation leads us to a Star Wars review, or Star Wars Rebels one in this case, and this one's on The Ghost from 2014. Well, first version of it. And have the Lego Star Wars logos and the Rebels style border from the time, which, interesting fact, is that this and the Phantom had this border exclusive to them, but then the following year worked on to all the sets, and then that went on with like all of the Disney films, like the sequel trilogy and the standalones, of course. So, but also see picture of the set in action, flying from some TIE fighters, Lego.com, and set number 75053. So, manual 1, of which on backside, how to win on the online survey, and then halfway through the build, and then number 2 of it. So you have ad for Lego Club, and then little promotional poster of both the Star Destroyer and the B-Wings, and other promotional poster of the AT-AT and Snowspeeder. And then a list of all the minifigs that were included in all the sets of this wave, and also large advertisement of all the summer 2014 sets, all of which I have previously reviewed for Throwback Thursday, but the Mos Eisley Cantina next Throwback Thursday, so subscribe and look forward to that. And ad for lego.com/Star Wars, and also some of the features of the set, and all the pieces that come with the set, of course, which is 3 pages, and then the last building steps. Okay, so that's about it there. And now, on to the minifigs. First off, for the minifigs is leader of the Rebels group, Kanan Jarrus. And this is which first appearance we've ever had of him. And also he's a kind of interesting case, which, as you see, wielding both the blue lightsaber, since he has one in the show, and also a little blaster as well. And also the torso print, leg printing, quite good, despite the like cut off at the knee thing that they did at the time, and also the face printing, quite good for how it is, and kind of well captures his in-show appearance. And then on the back side of him, as you see some nice back torso printing, showing a little bit more of his shoulder pad, of course, and then also underneath is a quite nice double-sided face for how it is. So, but he's a kind of interesting case where if you had a specific version of this set, get either the dark brown hair and goatee version of him, which this one is, or there was also one that's with the black hair and black goatee. Well, mainly since this set came out before, or was put out just before the premiere of the Rebels show, so they just weren't aware of the hair color at the time, so that's why. But and also, whereas the black hair version of Kanan here, either by himself or with the set, which is to go for like tons and tons for that. So, and obviously this brown hair version became more common, but yeah. So kind of an interesting case to point out where they just went ahead and did a change, but yeah. And that is it with Kanan. Oh, whoops. And now on to Hera, which, as you see, which did also come in the Ghost Microfighter the following year, but also in the 2023 version Ghost. This did include a different version of her, but that version was Ahsoka, but this version's Rebels. But I see the torso print, leg printing, quite well done for how it is, and of course wielding small blaster, and face printing also well suiting to her and quite good. And top part does have some goggles printed onto there, which also went on to the later AT-ST drivers, and also quite nice brown printing as well, or maybe it's dual molded, and also has the pony back tail kind of things, but also with some nice printing on them as well. And then and also a quite stern double-sided face as well. And also some good back torso printing, of course. And that is it with Hera. And now, next to which is Zeb, who of which is, well, the Rebels version of him. Well, not sure why we haven't gotten a Mandalorian Season 3 version of him, well, as yet. But also, he which is one of the main characters of the Mandalorian Grogu movie that is being out now. But how the headpiece of which quite good for how it is. It well captures his in-show appearance and does any printings both on top, and the face looks really good for how he is. And now the arm pieces or arms in lavender, and also his odd staff made of 2 different blasters and a lightsaber hilt. So kind of interesting use of that piece. And also the legs of which are standard minifig legs, but if you notice his appearance in the show, he is like barefooted and also has double jointed knees. So I think if he were made nowadays, I would expect them to include that. Include the, I guess, probably the legs from like the collector minifigs Fawn, and also Dimensions Gremlins that there is. So that'd work out well for him. And then have his double side or his back torso printing also looking quite good how he is. But also this which was only ever wait to get him. So, although I'm not sure exactly why he wasn't ever included in any other sets, but maybe he wasn't as important of characters to the show. But although in later seasons of the show he kind of did do so, could have at least included him in sets by then. But yeah, but whatever. And that is it with Zeb. And lastly is the Rebels style Stormtrooper, which first time to ever include him in a set, however he didn't get included in a few other sets the following 2 years, and also in a battle pack as well. So obviously kind of repeating trend at this time, but and of course wielding large blaster and torso print leg printing quite good, and also so similar to most Stormtroopers. And also the helmet piece, which is obviously how to be in the Rebel style, is with the blue or bright blue vents as compared to like darkish blue with most other troopers. And the face printing quite good for how it is, and also underneath it, which is the annoying angry clone face. Well, started this trend, but which people oftentimes kind of hated a lot, but luckily they changed that in 2020 and 21 for how that is. So, and then the back torso printing quite good for how it is, same details as every other Stormtrooper figs. And also not sure why this fig was included with this set. Well, although I think it should have also included Sabine Wren instead of it, or maybe both be included in this set anyway. But well, maybe they just weren't aware of Sabine at that time, but whatever. But it did include in small sets afterwards. And so now that's about it with all the minifigs of this set. And now onto the set. And so now onto the Ghost here, which, as you see, a kind of distinctive shape for how it is. And of course, giving kind of Millennium Falcon vibes. Well, since it is a important ship in this show, as the Millennium Falcon is in the film saga. But however, but also from first glance, the shaping quite similar to that of the 2023 version for Ahsoka, but luckily, but not at all any sand blue to it. So, well, maybe since it didn't change much till then. And also extra large backspace, which there's a reason for, which I'll show later. But however, so now let's see how it is. Which for this front cockpit part of which, with some quite good shaping, like with these jagged slopes and also these grill pieces acting as front venting for how it is, but and also have this large dome piece which is on top of, which is on some other plates in there, and also have a couple of lightsaber hilts acting as like front blasters to it, and also it's just there for looks. Unlike the later version of the Ghost, it did have a serve a purpose to it. But as for this cockpit area, which can pull right outwards, and there's a little seating area, which is just enough space to fit most likely a single fig, because if there was a fig on the sitting on the back few studs, they would just hit the wall part in there. And there's the clip part there, which connects to this red winch piece in there, and just slides in quite easily and well attached to that. And then as for this top cockpit area, which can like flip right open, and also does have another brick built seat and a pair of levers for how it is, and a space to fit Hera into, obviously, and that is it there. And now on to these outer panels, which do have large stickers on, so there's quite a few stickers in this set, and have a couple of tiles on top of them, and then also these two which both open right upwards. Like this one holds an extra missile for the Sprungla launchers, and the other which can flip open, and there's just nothing but just this little extra Technic space, a brick with a pin in it to hold both the Kanan's lightsaber and blaster in there. Well, which is kind of hard to do. And so, yeah, there. And also kind of interesting, but although the other version just doesn't have that at all for that. But as for interior space, which the only way to get to it, which need to flip this part open and also flip this part open, and just one little spot in there with a caution line on there and a couple of clips, most likely for other blasters as well. So, but although the other version of the Ghost did solve that problem, of course. And that's about it there. And now onto the side part of it, which has the like quite large wedge plates on here, and also with tiles on the sides of them, and also quite an interesting thing, which kind of like the early Millennium Falcons is, where you can pull this right off and have these large cylinder pieces that act as little escape pods for the minifigs, of course. And then, as you see, that the back pin hole on there connects to the pin in there, and also the guiding part, which and it rests on these forklift kind of pieces, where you can put it onto like so, and it's quite nice and secure in there. And onto the bottom part of the ship, have another large wedge plate on there, and also a like tile piece that has this odd symbol to it, which is a sticker. And then also, and in forms of landing gear, are just jagged slopes or inverted jagged slopes, and other curved slope pieces or inverted tiles like that. So not much of landing gear, but I guess it's probably to help keep the piece count down, and keep the price point lower. But also integrated into them are the Sprungla launchers, where tap on them and launch off like so. And then this other back part of it, which is just by one bricks with a couple of slopes there, and luckily holding onto it is nice and sturdy. And then onto the other side of it, which has this little Technic rod with a little rubber Technic piece on there, where if you pull on this end, this little door comes right open. And also, and inside that crate which is a Jedi holocron, which was a common trend at this time, and also from the year prior, of course. So, not sure what this had to do with in the show, but maybe I don't remember, but whatever. But still nice to see it there anyways. And to reload it, you can just set it on those 4 studs on there, and then, yeah, put it right up, and then push the rod in, and it's in there securely. And onto this little turret on top, which kind of swivels back and forth, but is also quite removable, where just a large cylinder panel piece and rounded bricks below, and other rounded brick and plate, and a brown chair on there, and also this dome piece that is clear, where you can pull this off, and then can sit any fig onto, most likely Zeb, and also goes over his head, and his head's over there nice and snug, and can see right through it quite well. And weird thing with it is that's not really connected to anything, but just rests on those like ridge plates inside, or how that is, and put it in there, and not on anything. Which, if you like turn this upside down, it would just fall right out. So had to note that. But yeah, but however, but it's at least a still quite good feature. But if this set were made nowadays, I think it should have had it, but also I think it should have had a little Technic piece or brick in there to hold it in there, or just a pair of jumpers to hold it in there. And onto the far back part, which has these 4 engines here, 2 that are small, and also 2 largish ones that have these large cone-like bits at the end, and the thrust of which is in trans orange, unlike the 2023 version where it was mixed. It was actually satin blue. Well, at least this, which is a little more accurate to it in the show, but yeah. And onto this large docking bay, which is quite a bit of vacant space, but I'll finally go over the reason for that, and do have 2 little doors right back there, which is kind of quite small for minifigs, but whatever. And also this part, which can fold right open, and also the yellow stripes for it, which matches with this other set, which you probably know what it is, where you can flip right open, and it's about ready. In which, if you have the Phantom set, which I previously reviewed for Throwback Thursday, and also which was also out at the time, where if you notice the open space on that connects to the little jumper right there, so you can like, you just put it in like that and attach it there, and tap this down, and they're both together, or how it is. So this is a quite neat way to do things with sets, or get sets together for that. But although the other Phantom set from 2017, well, which did also do this, but it wasn't in scale quite as much. But although the one with the 2023 one was well improved to that, but yeah. But this was quite cool for how it is, but although this was an extra $25 set to get as well. And that is about it with that. And now for comparison. And now on to a little comparison with this and the later 2023 version of the Ghost, which I did also review a while ago. Which, as you can see, the shaping, which is almost the same footprint as it, but obviously this one has a little sand blue, and this one doesn't at all have any sand blue, but instead light gray to it. Well, maybe just different lighting situations in the show. And then also this version, well, this was 90, this was 170 or so. Well, mainly because it also had the mini Phantom 2 set for how it is. And then also, interesting thing is that this version of the Ghost has the plates giving depth to it, but little gap in there. But the 2023 version, which has a thing between that gap, so obviously kind of nice thing there. And also the blasters in the front, at least one of which didn't do anything, but the other version did do something there. And opening the cockpits, which were quite similar to each other. Oh, whoops. And also nice to see these front vent parts present on both versions. And also, let's see, this version does have a little bit of greebling to it and red in few spots, but unlike the this version, very little and none of that at all. And also the engines, which are built a little bit similarly, but this one of which has a little more greebling to it, and of course different colors for the thrust part, like regular translucent orange compared to a clear satin blue. And the docking area a lot smaller, since the Phantom 2 set was obviously well in scale to it. And also as for interior space for both versions, barely much of any of that for this one, very little in there. But this one, which blows it out of the water, as you can see, quite a whole lot more now. So obviously it was a 10-year difference, and designing wasn't as thoughtful through at the time, or they just weren't aware of this set of the show at the time or whatever. But however, I say 2023 version, well, improvement over this version. Well, unless if you still adored this version. And also, not only escape pod featured to this one, unlike this one that does. And I guess that's about it with the comparison. So now for my overall verdict, I think this is a quite good set for how it is. Like, obviously one of the best ones for 2014, since obviously was all new one, and also one of the first of Star Wars Rebels that there was, and whereas for the $90, which it's all quite good for us, like a lot of good features and also good minifig selection with about 3 out of 6 of the main characters of the Rebels show. Well, despite the Kanan Jarrus change up that there was, and obviously would have been nice if Sabine Wren also would have been included in the set, but well, especially she did come in other sets the following year, or cheap sets the following year anyways. But also this, as is the Witch, quite nice for how it is. Well, and of course, if for also having the Phantom as well, kind of gives a little extra to it. Well, and also a slight bit with the 2017 Phantom as well. But however, it also has quite a distinctive color scheme of mostly white and dark gray, but also a little yellow and sand green and red, of course. Well, despite not having any sand blue like the 2023 version for that, but whatever. But however, and also since for it being kind of the flagship ship of the Rebels show, well, good, and they did well capture its appearance quite well, even though the 2023 version also did. But well, since this was a first time try of it, but at least it did quite faithful for how it was, like, it obviously did provide plenty of nice features for it, but yeah. And despite not including the Phantom when it was a separate set for that, well, still quite good for how it is. Like, this, which, and of course this kind of sign of the times where something at $90 got something quite neat and cool, or something large and cool for how it is, but yeah. Well, despite being worth a lot more nowadays, I'd say still quite worth it for how it is, but yeah. And for any of you, and hopefully, and if you have any good, and for any of you that still have this set from back in the day, well, I hope you had some good memories of it. And for those of you who haven't and are still looking to get this set, I'd say definitely get it. eBay, Bricklink, Mercari, Bricks and Minifigs, whatever. And that is it with this video. And please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.